Hello, my Fossipaws! Right now, I'm super excited because I'm officially starting a aforementioned series on my channel, Beanie Boo Name Backstories. This series is going to be a series of shorts on my second channel that goes in depth on the story as to why I named some of my Beanie Boos, well, the names that they do have. And each episode is going to be focused on a certain group of Beanie Boos. The first episode is going to be about some of the names within my wolf pack. So, without further ado, I hope you enjoy. The first Beanie Boo that I'm going to be talking about is Imposter, my Galactic Wolf Custom. I've shown her many times on my channel before, and I've attempted to explain the backstory to her name, but I honestly did a horrible job because it's really random and complex. So hopefully I'll explain it better and more clearly for you here. First thing to address before you even think it, before you even say it, because I know you're thinking it the second you hear her name. No, her name was not inspired by the game Among Us. I named her Imposter way before the game Among Us even came out. Although, now that I think about it, literally, she's a galactic wolf, and the game Among Us is about crewmates on a spaceship, so I can totally see how you made that association. So, I can't remember exactly when the story takes place because it was a long time ago, but let's just say 2015 to 2016 is when this story took place. I was hanging out at one of my cousin's house, and we were playing with our Beanie Boos. For clarification, this is my older cousin. He used to collect them, so when I would go over to his house, we'd play with them. And her story to her name requires a lot of backstory to the name of one of his Beanie Boos. So, he had a Solid Ice Slush the Husky that he named Five Below because he got it at Five Below. And in his Beanie Boo world, this was like a really popular Beanie Boo. Like, he was the coolest guy, everyone knew him, everyone loved him. But one day, my cousin lost Five Below, who was really special to him. Because apparently, according to him, some kid stole it out of his backpack when he took it to school. So, he bought a replacement, which is now Imposter, to be the new Five Below because he lost his old one. But then, shortly after replacing the old Five Below, he found the old one again. So now there were two Solid Ice Slushes. One was the original Five Below, and one he named Imposter because, well, she was now the imposter. So technically, I didn't even name her this. I just stuck with that name that my cousin called her years ago. And then, because she was an imposter in his world, he was literally going to destroy her, sort of like I do to the monkey Beanie Boos, and banish her because at that point she was an evil Beanie Boo in his world. So, since at the time I thought she was so cool, this is before I even really knew what Beanie Boos were, by the way, I was like, no, you can't destroy her, I love her so much, give her to me, I can take the imposter away for you. And that's the story of how I got her, and the story of why she is named Imposter. She went through a lot of character growth, used to be a really, crazy party animal, used to be really, rebellious, disobedient, and then she became, more mature and responsible over time because of the character growth from my cousin's story overlapping into the one for mine. So I hope I explained that well enough for you guys. And yes, I know that Imposter is spelled with an O-R. I stay true to how I spelled their names when I was little, and I spelled it with an E-R, so. Alright, next Beanie Boo. I hope that wasn't too long of a story for one name. Also, to those of you who are new, she wasn't a custom at that point. Over time, I just customized her. This next story is very short, especially in comparison to the last one. But I needed to tell you the last one to get to the story of how he was named this too. So this is 0 Degrees. I know it's a really stupid name. And to be honest, I don't even really like it that much, but it's way too late in the story to change his name. Basically, as I mentioned, my cousin had a Beanie Boo that he named Five Below. But it also, although the name was named after a store, it also, multi-functioned as 5 degrees below 0 because he was a husky. And I thought that was such a cool and creative twist on the name. So, I didn't want to just rename one of my Beanie Boos that. just because I didn't want to steal it from my cousin. So instead of just completely stealing it, which would have honestly been better, I came up with a stupid knockoff name, 0 degrees below 0. That's literally all there is to know. I wanted to make a cool, creative name like my cousin did, but it just ended up being stupid. So yes, his name is literally 0. Oddly enough, this name also took place at my cousin's. I don't know why most of my Wolfpack members have been named after weird coincidences at my cousin's house, but okay. So, if you thought the name 0 degrees was stupid and weird, Helena's name is Blue Regard Kazoo. Yep. So, I was visiting my cousins in 2019, and they introduced me to a show that my older cousin used to really like watching when he was little. It was called Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends. And I myself, and probably most of you watching, are maybe too young to even know what it was, because I think it came out a few years before I was born. But I just started watching it because I thought it was interesting, and I honestly grew really attached to the show. Even though it's like sort of a babyish kid show, I honestly really love it. And one of the characters is a blue blob named Blue Regard Kazoo. And the concept of the show is it's sort of like a foster or adoption system for imaginary friends that have been grown out of or disregarded. And since the main character was a blue blob, and at the time I had recently gotten Helena the Husky from one of my friends as a Christmas gift, I was like, blue blob, blue husky, I'll name her Blue Regard Kazoo. I don't use her full name, I just call her Blue. But that technically is her full name. And she's actually named after a boy, which I just thought was really interesting. Also, yes, I spelt it that way on purpose. I promise you I'm not as dumb as you think I am. I mean, I probably am to a certain extent, but not that much. This one is also named after a TV character. Also back in 2019, I started watching the show Victorious. Now, when the show came out, I was only, I believe the show came out in 2010, right? So I was literally only 4 years old. So, I never got the chance to watch Victorious while it was actually airing on TV. But now that I'm a teenager, I went back and watched it for myself. And, okay. Tori Vega is the name of the main character. I actually don't like the main character, Tori. I think she's annoying, but not the point of this. I just like the sound of her last name, Vega. I just thought it was a cool sounding name, so I named Iris this. Literally, that's it. Next story. And the last backstory of a name that I'm going to be talking about is Corduroy. So all the babies that you've seen throughout this video have been a mix of different species, like huskies and stuff, actual wolves too. But for me, they're all in one wolf pack, so I pretend they're all wolves. That honestly was irrelevant to the point of this story, but I figured I'd just clarify. His story is another short backstory to how he got his name. But honestly, I'm sure that's a relief and sort of a breath of fresh air because some of these stories were pretty long. Okay, so I got Corduroy at the same time that I also got the Beanie Boo Cashmere at some point in 2020. And because I got him at the same time that I got Cashmere, and I was actually planning on keeping Cashmere's name, I thought it would be cool if they had corresponding names with one another. So since cashmere is a type of fabric, I decided corduroy would be a cool sounding name. And their stories actually tie in together because Corduroy is the dad of Cashmere's boyfriend, Root Beer. And it also sort of fits his personality, long story there. But all of this has nothing to do with what I now associate with the name. So at the time, I wasn't thinking anything of how it could relate to another movie character, but it also ended up relating to another movie character, unintentionally this time. If you watch the show Gravity Falls, you'd know there's a character in it called Wendy, and her last name is Corduroy, and I love that show. So now that it came to mind that it also relates to a character of a show I love, now I love his name like 10 times more. And now all that pops into my head when I look at him is the scene from Gravity Falls where Wendy goes, "'Cause I'm a flippin' corduroy," and then flips the big jail guy. If you didn't watch the show, you'd have no idea what I'm talking about. But yeah, that's the story of his name. He's named after a fabric and now associated with the last name of a TV character. Those were all of all the names that I'm going to be talking about in episode 1. I hope you enjoyed hearing the backstories of these names because I honestly really enjoyed going back through why they got their name. I hope this isn't like boring to some of you because for me it's really exciting, obviously. But I bet it might be a little long-winded or boring for some of you. But for those of you who actually watched all of this, thank you so much. That means a lot. I hope you enjoyed hearing the stories. This was a really, really fun and relaxed video for me. So I will see you in another video. Hey, hey!